Francis X. Bushman was one of the first matinee idols that enjoyed major silent movie stardom during the 19-teens into the 1920s. His stardom was so large that he was even nicknamed the King of Hollywood. But after starring in just a few talkies, he briefly retired before returning to work as a character actor. What happened? Join me as I investigate. Francis was born in 1883 in Baltimore. He became interested in acting at an early age and acted on the stage at various local theaters. He attended Amadale College in Baltimore and at age 20 won a strongman contest that would lead him to work as an artist model in New York. Eventually, he returned to acting and made his first and only appearance on Broadway in the 1908 musical The Queen of the Moulin Rouge, which ran for 160 performances. In 1911, Francis was performing in a play in Chicago and was spotted by scouts from the Chicago-based SNA Film Studios who signed him to a contract. His motion picture debut at SNA was in His Friend's Wife in 1911, and almost immediately he was launched into superstardom. He starred in 26 more films in 1911 alone. At this point, all of these films were shorts, as feature-length movies were not yet as popular. Francis starred in close to 50 short films at SNA in 1912 and demonstrated he was equally adept at drama and comedy, such as his appearance in The Surviving When Wealth Torments, which was fortunately preserved by the Eye Museum in the Netherlands. By the end of 1912, Francis was the number 4 box office draw in America and had a huge fan base, especially among female fans. SNA, shrewd as ever, hid from the public the fact that Francis had been married to Josephine Duval since 1902 and had 5 children, including future actor Ralph. After starring in several more shorts at SNA between 1913 and 1914, Francis starred in his first feature-length film at the studio, One Wonderful Night, in 1914 opposite Beverly Bain, who would become his frequent leading lady and would become his future second wife. In 1915, Francis and Beverly had a huge hit in the feature Graustark at SNA before both left the studio to sign with Metro in Hollywood. Francis and Beverly were such a popular team that they were ranked together in the top box office poll of movie stars in the 1915 and 1916 seasons. They had many hits over the next several years, including Pennington's Choice, Romeo and Juliet, The Great Secret, and The Poor Rich Man. In the 1920s, Francis began to slow down his motion picture production. He and Beverly starred in one more film together in 1923, Modern Marriage, before soon divorcing. In 1925, Francis starred in his most famous remembered film role, that of the villain Masala in the silent version of Ben-Hur, in which he famously raced Ramon Navarro in a chariot, doing all of his own stunts and earning him a lasting legacy as a star in one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. Francis finished out the 1920s starring in a few silents, including The Flag as George Washington, A New and Glorious Nation, and Say It With Sables. In 1930, he starred in his talkie debut in The Lost Call of the Circus, along with 2 other lost talkies that same year, The Dude Wrangler with Lena Basquette and Once a Gentleman. It is worth noting that in 1929, Francis lost the majority of his fortune in the stock market crash, but not before he was able to donate the land to Sid Grauman to create Grauman's Chinese Theater. After starring in one more talkie, 1932's Watch Beverly, Francis retired for 4 years before returning to a new career as a character actor and famous silent movie star that often appeared as himself. His screen appearances over the next few decades were sporadic but always memorable. He played the chief in the 1937 serial Dick Tracy. He played himself in 1941's Mr. Celebrity and then played himself again in 1951's excellent noir Hollywood Story. He also memorably appeared as the exasperated Mr. Tyson, the father of Martha Hyer's character in the Audrey Hepburn classic Sabrina in 1954. Francis also carved out a niche for himself on both radio and television. He starred on the popular radio drama Those We Love for many years and made memorable TV guest appearances, including a no-nonsense judge on The Danny Thomas Show in 1959 and a silent movie collector on Batman with Adam West in 1966. He also continued his legacy of keeping his silent movie stardom and the memory of silent movies period alive through multiple television appearances, including Groucho Marx's show You Bet Your Life in 1958. Always a trooper, Francis continued to act into his 80s. He played the leader of a miniature society in Phantom Planet in 1961. Shortly before his death, he appeared in his last movie, The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini, in 1966. He passed away from a heart attack at the age of 83 in Hollywood later that year. So we are left with the question, Why did Francis X. Bushman's stardom falter in the talkies? Well, it did and it didn't at the same time. While he wasn't headlining films anymore after 1932, Francis seemed perfectly happy to appear in supporting character roles and often as himself. His name remained so well known and his stardom remained relevant even if he wasn't the star in blockbusters. Furthermore, his rich speaking voice led to his being sought after to appear on the radio, and his gift for comedy led him to being a frequent popular guest star in multiple television sitcoms. While he was known as the King of Hollywood, I think he should have been named the King of Entertainment, period, for he truly was one of the most impressive actors and personalities that ever appeared on both the big and small screens. While most of his silent films are lost, we are still fortunate to have Ben-Hur in its entirety, which I recommend you check out on YouTube. We also have the majority of his later sound films, which I also strongly recommend. No matter what the role, Francis was always memorable and entertaining. What a trooper, what a talent, what a legend. Please like this video and subscribe or follow this account if you want to learn more about the history of silent film stars whose stardom lasted only briefly in the talkies. Up next, join me as I cover the silent and talkie career of Clara Bow. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great week.